struck down for intentional racial discrimination. Florida passed new racially gerrymandered maps, and we're waiting in my home state of Georgia to see what happens with us on June 17th. Ms. Wiley, and you can just answer yes or no, have you ever seen 5 states move simultaneously to dismantle Black representation in Congress in such a very rapid, short time?
No.
And while this administration demands attacks on Black Americans' voices with phone calls to governors, it is fighting hard for the right-wing extremist groups who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Groups whose members are not all white supremacists, but doesn't seem to mind white supremacists. Trump's DOJ has given $1.8 billion of a slush fund taken from taxpayers to pay off the 1,600 right-wing rioters who tried to steal the election for him. That's $1 million for each rioter, with $100 million left over. Ms. Wiley, what message does this send to the country that this administration is prosecuting the organization that takes down white supremacists while stealing taxpayer money to give to white supremacists?
Subscribe, God bless you. Welcome back, fellow Patriots. This is America Truth Channel, where we expose radical Democrat hypocrisy, defend equal justice under the law, and fight for America first every single day. Today, we're reacting to another outrageous moment from the House Judiciary Committee where Representative Lucy McBath from Georgia drops the hammer on President Trump's $1.8 billion fund designed to help victims of Biden-era weaponization and political persecution. McBath is clearly upset that this fund exists to compensate Americans who are targeted by the deep state, parents at school boards, pro-life activists, January 6 defendants, and Trump supporters who face lawfare. Listen to this, Patriots. Representative McBath is treating this compensation fund like some kind of scandal instead of long overdue justice. This is the same party that spent years weaponizing the DOJ, FBI, and federal agencies against conservatives while protecting their own elites like Hunter Biden. Patriots, let's be very clear about what this $1.8 billion fund represents. After years of two-tiered justice under Biden-Harris, where the DOJ targeted parents speaking at school boards as domestic terrorists, raided pro-life protesters, and launched endless lawfare against President Trump and his supporters, this fund is a step toward correcting those grave injustices. As a right-wing patriot who believes in true equal justice, the rule of law, and holding government accountable, my opinion is straightforward.
Just a couple you see, yeah.
This gentleman's recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. The Guardian U.S. lawmakers say DOJ rushed Southern Poverty Law Center indictment citing whistleblowers.
Without objection. Without objection.
House Judiciary Democrats letter read the targeting of Southern Poverty Law Center to Deputy Attorney General Akash Singh.
Without objection.
That's it for now.
Thank you. We now go to gentlelady from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for our witnesses being here today. My father was the president of the Illinois chapter of the NAACP for many, many years. As a child, I learned how to fight for my rights before I even learned how to walk. I marched in protests, sat in meetings, and helped to organize. I want everyone in this room to understand what is happening right now. The Republican Party has launched an all-out assault against civil rights organizations founded to ensure the end of Jim Crow. But that's just one part of this strategy. 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in Louisiana versus Calais, saying that, and I'm going to quote, race-neutral considerations, that it could employ race-neutral considerations, end quote, in redistricting. And within days, Southern legislatures, they rushed to wipe out Black representation in Congress. Tennessee called an emergency session to repeal its own law against mid-decade redistricting. It then splintered Memphis, a city that is 60% Black, into 3 districts to dilute the voices of the Black voters there. The state's Black legislators protested, and in response, the Speaker stripped every single one of them of their committee assignments. Tennessee is not alone in silencing Black voices. Alabama moved to reinstate maps a court previously struck down for intentional racial discrimination. Florida passed new racially gerrymandered maps, and we're waiting in my home state of Georgia to see what happens with us on June 17th. Ms. Wiley, and you can just answer yes or no, have you ever seen 5 states move simultaneously to dismantle Black representation in Congress in such a very rapid, short time?
No.
And while this administration demands attacks on Black Americans' voices with phone calls to governors, it is fighting hard for the right-wing extremist groups who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Groups whose members are not all white supremacists, but doesn't seem to mind white supremacists. Trump's DOJ has given $1.8 billion of a slush fund taken from taxpayers to pay off the 1,600 right-wing rioters who tried to steal the election for him. That's $1 million for each rioter, with $100 million left over. Ms. Wiley, what message does this send to the country that this administration is prosecuting the organization that takes down white supremacists while stealing taxpayer money to give to white supremacists?
I wish I had a word, and I don't have a word for that, except to say that the American public should be outraged.
Southern states are tripping over themselves to eliminate Black representation in Congress. The president is doling out reparations to white supremacists, and DOJ has indicted the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization built to defend the rights of Americans, on charges so flimsy that it would make Bull Connor and George Wallace blush. Americans deserve a voice in our democracy, representation of their interests, and should not have to fight for their basic civil rights again and again and again. Race should not be a factor. This is an attempt to roll back the progress made through the civil rights movement and strip Black Americans of their voice in public life, using the same tactics as Southern segregationist states following the death of Reconstruction for the very same goal. I am a child of the civil rights movement. We have seen this before. If we needed a reminder or a wake-up call that Jim Crow is alive and evolved, these legislatures made sure that we got the notice. Ms. Wiley, would you like to expand on any previous questions or statements that you weren't able to complete?
I just want to remind us that the federal agencies, FBI, DEA, AFT, spent over $548 million on informants for a reason, because they thought it was going to help them keep people safe. We're talking about this attack on SPLC at a time when we are facing an administration that cut funds to prevent gun violence, that cut funds to track where and how we might have violent white supremacist neo-Nazi attacks, that cut funds that was going to support public safety, all at a time when we've seen a White House directing Department of Justice about who it wants to prosecute. And as someone who used to work for the Department of Justice, that is unheard of.
Thank you, and I yield.
Generally yields back.
This fund is necessary and moral. Americans whose lives were destroyed by politicized prosecutions, frivolous charges, censorship, and federal overreach deserve compensation. The real scandal is not this fund. It's the weaponization that made it necessary in the first place. Representative Lucy McBath and her radical colleagues are furious because they know this fund shines a light on their party's abuses of power. They spent 4 years turning federal law enforcement into a political weapon, and now they're mad that victims might actually get some relief. Here's the deeper truth, Patriots. Democrats only believe in justice when it flows one way, against conservatives. They cheered when the FBI targeted Trump, when Garland's DOJ went after parents, and when endless investigations drained MAGA supporters' resources. Now that the Trump administration is trying to make victims whole, they call it theft or corruption. This is classic projection. The real theft was the billions wasted on lawfare, while real criminals crossed the open border and fentanyl killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. The real corruption was the two-tiered system that protected Hunter Biden and persecuted grandmothers praying at abortion clinics. We need full transparency on this fund. It should go to genuine victims of political persecution, not just one side. But the very existence of such a fund proves how badly the DOJ was corrupted under the previous administration. President Trump is delivering on his promise to end the weaponization of government. This hearing moment perfectly illustrates why Americans rejected the radical left in 2024. They want revenge and power. Patriots want fairness, accountability, and a Department of Justice that serves we the people, not one political party. Patriots, if you're tired of radical Democrats like Lucy McBath attacking efforts to deliver justice to victims of government abuse, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these hard-hitting reactions. Drop your comment below. Do you support the $1.8 billion fund for lawfare victims, or is McBath right to attack it? Should every American targeted by the Biden DOJ be compensated? Share this video with every patriot, every Trump supporter, every parent, and every American who believes in equal justice. We stand for a Department of Justice that is blind to politics, one that prosecutes real crime, secures our borders, and never again becomes a weapon against the American people. This is what restoring the rule of law looks like. God bless President Trump, God bless real justice, and God bless the United States of America. I'll see you in the next video. Stay strong and stay vigilant, Patriots.